can start. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So as we continue discussing this hadith, that is hadith 28 in this series by by An-Nawawi rahimahullah. And this hadith is the hadith of Al-Irbad ibn Sariyah. So in the last lesson that we had started discussing this hadith. So I read the hadith that had been mentioned here. And the author rahimahullah, he mentioned the hadith is collected by Abu Dawood al-Tirmidhi and قال يعني الترمذي rahimahullah hadith hasanun sahih. So we discussed concerning the hadith by way of takhrij. To some degree, we discussed concerning that the hadith as mentioned by the author rahimahullah, that the hadith is collected by Abu Dawood with Tirmidhi. But when we went back to check the exact wording of the hadith, we said the hadith are found in both those two books and other collection, but the wording somewhat a slight difference in wording. So as for the wording that is here, slight difference, where the author rahimahullah that either have condensed the hadith, but other hadith, so the hadith has been condensed by the author rahimahullah. So we discussed concerning different riwayat and also the exact wording in the book of Abu Dawood with Tirmidhi. So we discussed those matters, and also the hadith have also additional wordings in some narration. The additional wordings, some come at the beginning of the hadith and some at the end of the hadith. The ones where we discuss also those matters. Then the next matter we discuss regarding the hadith, that this hadith also regarding the aqwal of the ulama pertaining to this particular hadith regarding the ulama of hadith. So we discuss concerning what's the aqwal of the ulama regarding this particular hadith. Then let's go back in here and directly from the ulama who are said to be the kibar ulama of al-hadith. So we discussed concerning that of the ulama who have looked at the hadith and have graded the hadith. We said there's some discussion or some critique of the hadith by some of the ulama. As some of the narrators have mentioned that there's inqita in some where there's a break in the isnad, and also other things that they have mentioned, highlight regarding some of the narrators. But we said overall that one of the ulama regarding this particular hadith, that we have many of the ulama who have authenticated hadith. So mention names of some of the ulama of those of past. We have At-Tirmidhi, Bazzar, Ibn Abdul Barr, Al-Bagawi, Jurzaqani, also Ibn Malakkin, Al-Hakim, and others who have authenticated hadith. And also mention some of the contemporaries of them, Shaykh Albani and the likes, who have also authenticated the hadith. Then also we have, and also Ibn Taymiyyah, who have also authenticated hadith. Then also we have others who have somewhat critiqued the hadith. And of them, they mention Man Ibn Qattan. So Ibn Qattan, Abu Hassan Ibn Qattan, that he has a book, that is a book called Bayan al-Wahm wal-Iham, that he discussed, so he can somewhat all the hadith to be da'if due to certain narrators that are mentioned the isnad. But overall, the ulama mentioned that yes, there's some things to be critiqued about the hadith, but when all the narrations are put together, then the hadith are said to be maqbool. The hadith is said to be accepted, or hadith is said to be sahih. Then we discuss. Then after discuss concerning the rawi of the hadith, who the sahabi who have narrated this hadith, who was Irbad ibn Sariyah. So we mentioned something in brief regarding the sahabi that have narrated this particular hadith. Then as for the mawdu' of the hadith, we mentioned the hadith covers various matters. It covers concerning matters regarding it covers matter regarding al-wa'z, regarding giving these admonition, or today said or giving some form of reminder. Second, the hadith also consists regarding concerning matters regarding al-wasiyah, when one is asked for wasiyah or asked to give advice. That also the Prophet ﷺ went on to give some advice, so seeking of advice from others, and also the person advising others. Then also the hadith, it consists of matter regarding Taqwa, having taqwa for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also of that wasiyah that the Prophet ﷺ he mentioned regarding ta'at al-wali al-amr, as-sama wa taha, for one to obey those in authority. And also the hadith consists regarding how to approach concerning matters of ikhtilaf. So you find that matters that we find a Muslim fell into al-ikhtilaf or al-khilaf. So the Muslim fall into a difference between themselves, and also that can lead to splitting, then how to approach those matters. Then also the hadith also discuss that matters regarding that the importance of sticking to the sunnah. So the hadith that in the hadith comes a command that we owe to the sunnah, especially in a time of difference. So owing to the sunnah to be done at all time, even more so when there's difference of arise amongst the Muslim. And also not only to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but also the sunnah of the as-sahaba, and of them al-khulafa al-rashid. Then also the hadith, it warned and cautioned regarding al-bidah. The hadith also cautioned against al-bidah. So the hadith, it consists of those main topics. As for what is said by the ulama pertaining to this particular hadith, of them concerning Ibn Attar, rahimahullah, one of the students of An-Nawawi, that he mentioned regarding concerning also by explanation mentioned, هذا hadith mu'jizun, that this hadith is a mu'jiz, is like a miracle, wa'alam, and also like of the sign min alam and nubuwah. So he mentioned that this hadith is of like a miracle and also one of the signs of nubuwah, of prophethood. And this is based upon the Prophet ﷺ mentioned regarding al-ikhtilaf. But the Prophet ﷺ, when he discussed regarding al-ikhtilaf, that can somewhat giving us insight regarding differences occurring between a Muslim, and it has occurred, Also the ulama mentioned regarding concern that they mentioned regarding hadith, اشتمل al-hadith, that is hadith, it consists ala wasiyatin azimatin jami'an shamil, that is hadith, it consists of important advice that is very comprehensive. Then they mention fihi taqwa Allah, and they mention ta'atil wali al-amr, obedience to those who are in authority, bil ma'ruf. So the qaid, as we'll discuss, so kind of somewhat the obedience to those in authority, it comes with, they said, between qawsayn, it comes with a condition that bil ma'ruf. It comes with a condition that you only obey those in authority in matters that are ma'ruf. There are things that are in line with Islam. As for things that those in authority may request or may have in place that goes against Islam, then one is not obliged, or one should not obey them and assist them on those things. So if the authorities implement or have something in place that's disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or contradict Islam or its principles, then one should not influence, one should not go along with this. But it doesn't mean that one have to make khuruj. It doesn't mean, I will discuss, it doesn't mean that one then have to revolt against the state because of the state may have certain things that are not in line with Islam, and that to be discussed. Then also they mention the hadith al-ihtisam wal-luzum as-sunnah wa sunnat al-khulafa al-rashidin, and also from the hadith in person they mention the third thing, that the hadith can somewhat stress the importance of owing to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and also the way of the khulafa al-rashidin, and also al-hadar min al-bidah, and also the hadith, it caution against al-bidah. And also I mentioned the hadith also bayan al-waqu' al-ikhtilaf wa tafarruq ma dhanbi, that also the hadith also it shows that clarify that difference and split will occur between a Muslim even though those things are said to be blameworthy. So split and differences occur between a Muslim, but even though those things are said to be blameworthy acts. So that's concerning what I've been mentioning regarding some of the ulama pertaining to this particular hadith, as how the hadith is viewed and held in sight by way of the ulama. So the hadith, by way of what it contains in brief, that the hadith contains, as we mentioned, that we can add concerning that as for the hadith, the first session of the hadith, that in covering this hadith, that one, that the points of this hadith, we said like in a bullet points, regarding the first one, the al-wa'z, we discussed, so we'll try to discuss concerning matters that relates to al-wa'z, giving admonition, also matters regarding al-wasiyah, which in brief, and the wasaya, those advice that were given by the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ, that ﷺ, he advised regarding first taqwa Allah, so that's one of those points. The second, as-sama wa taha, wa in ta'ammar alaykum abd. The second regard that is in relation, the second point, obedience to those in authority. Wa innahu man ya'ish minkum, and also the third advice that he gave ﷺ regarding al-ikhtilaf. Regarding concerning al-ikhtilaf occurring between the Muslim, or splitting and differences occurring between the Muslim, then also he gave like the way forward or the cure out to the person to steer himself during these different dimensions, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي. That sort of fourth advice is out to protect oneself when these differences occur. What are the safeguards that a person should have in place when the differences occur? That he mentioned to be upon his sunnah, alayhi salam, and also that the khulafa ar-rashideen, and also adhu alayha bin nawajid, and they emphasize this. Then he mentioned the sixth, another of those points regarding وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَمُحْدَثَاتُ الْأُمُورِ. Then he mentioned caution the Muslim against newly invented matters. So those are the points that to be covered بِإِذْنِ ta'ala. So as for the first point that we had mentioned, so the first point regarding concerning that the Prophet ﷺ in this was said, وَعْدَنَا, as in Hadith mentioned concerning وَعْدَنَا رسول عليه السلام موعدة جلت منها القلوب وظفرت منها العيون قلنا يا رسول الله كأنها موعدة الموضة أوصنا. So as for the first point he mentioned, which would be the first regarding al-maw'idah. So after the first thing of this hadith, it discussed concerning matters regarding al-maw'idah. So they have mentioned regarding concerning this maw'idah, as we mentioned, that in some other narration of hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ, he addressed the Muslim when we said, which salat? It was after Salatul Fajr. So the Prophet ﷺ, when this advice was given, this took place after Salatul Fajr. So after Salatul Fajr, the Prophet ﷺ, that he addressed and gave this advice to the Muslim, as some of the narrations mentioned. Then also, that was this, given that this type of wasiyah or khutbah we address in the congregation, we'll find the Prophet ﷺ gave different wasaya or wasiyah at different times. So at times this wasiyah may come in a form of this type of admonition, this maw'idah, that it also this maw'idah, the Prophet ﷺ, that time may come in the form of a khutbah. So you find a certain time that he gave a set address, which we refer to as a khutbah. So those set address or khutb will be done when? Eid, Jummah. So on a weekly basis, a set weekly khutbah, maw'idah, that will be given to the general congregation will be on Friday. So that will be a part of the khutbah. Then also twice a year, the wider congregation, which the entire, which would be on Eid al-Adha wa Eid al-Fitr. So again, and those come at the end. So you have those, and also the Prophet ﷺ concerned al-Maw'idah, that we have a khutbah, that you have other occasion regarding Salat al-Istisqa, that they will have a Maw'idah. So at times he will do this Maw'idah that is done with attached to some event. Then you have al-Maw'idah, that sometimes said spontaneous. Where the Prophet ﷺ in this case that decided to address the Muslim, and it was after Salat al-Fajr. So this was more said spontaneous, where he addressed the people as someone asked for some advice and he gave. So this was more spontaneous. So at times he would also give this type of spontaneous advice to the Muslim. So those things, so it shows regarding concern to know that at times the maw'idah, it is coming in a set form, or at times may be spontaneous, that depending on the situation and circumstance. They mentioned regarding concern al-maw'idah, this type of advice concerning what is meant. They said al-maw'idah, that is a form of nasiha or nus, also tadhkir bil-awaqib. So this type of maw'idah is where the person is given that maw'idah form of a reminder to the Muslim. So it comes in a form of a reminder, also by way of a reminder, also a nus, by way of advising the Muslim, also tadhkir bil awaqib, advising so remind the people regarding certain consequence of certain actions and things. So that's concerning al-maw'idah. So either the person try to encourage the people regarding certain things, or advise them against certain things, or just to bring to their attention certain things. So at times the maw'idah, so that al-maw'idah also, as they mention, huwa tazkir bil khair, is a form of reminder regarding things of goodness, fima yurek lahu qalb, with a person trying to soften the hearts of the people. So a form of reminder, but trying to aim, but the person is trying to soften the hearts of the listener. So that's concerning what is mentioned, or takhwif, or kind of somewhat bring them to caution again, certain things. So that's concerning al-maw'idha, shar'an. As for from the hadith, it shows the second matter regarding al-maw'idha, that it shows the permissibility of a maw'idha. So the hadith shows the Prophet Islam, or any, that a person of ilm, that giving a maw'idha, show the permissibility of one giving a form of reminder to others. So giving reminder to others, then the hadith shows the permissibility of this. And also that can be done in the masjid, it can be done after the salat or outside the masjid. So the maw'idha can be performed, can be carried out within the masjid or outside the masjid. So the hadith shows the permissibility of this. And also I mentioned, عُدْعُ إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِدَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned regarding also ud'u, that invite to your Lord, call to your Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the way of your Lord, bil hikmah, but comes with hikmah, which is, it is done with hikmah, with wisdom, and also wal maw'idatul hasana, and also a good admonition. So it shows regarding the permissibility of this in Islam, and the Prophet Islam, that he himself also did this. And also those who came after, ila yawmiddin, up until today. So that hadith show the permissibility of maw'idha.
Would this be in Masjid An-Nawawi?
It has been his masjid. It has been his masjid alayhi salam. The next matter regarding al-maw'idha, sifat al-maw'idha, an-najiyah. So a person wants to give a maw'idha, but one also that it is effective. You know what effective? Make it somewhat successful, that goes back in, but a person trying to give a maw'idha that is somewhat effective. Now, so of those things that to consider is one, intaqa al-mawdu' al-munasib, that a person in giving a maw'idha, a reminder to the people, that he tries to choose a topic that is proper. So try to find an appropriate topic for the people, and that may varies. Now, so choosing there a suitable, appropriate topic for those people. So, of those things are what is to be discussed. So, the choice of topic, the information to be given, and also said that not in this matter regarding the choice of the topic, that also the person given a maw'idha, that you're prepared regarding what you want to deliver. So, preparing oneself so as the mawdu', that a person also that he can somewhat prepare his presentation. Now, so can somewhat as the person that said was that in an Islamic atmosphere, the person give a talk that you somewhat have prepared yourself to give that talk. So either you have research on the topic, so you know what you want to, the information that you want to pass on. Now, so everything can somewhat said it flows. And also that the information, which is also primary, that's also essential, that the information that is given, that they're in line with Islam and represent Islam. So in the maw'idha regarding the choice of topic, that a person, the one who's delivering, that he can somewhat research, prepare the topic by doing the relevant research and gather the information, and also that information is in line with Islam. That is in line with Islam. So that sometimes you find of the downfall of sometimes the maw'idha that a person says, that we might say to the person giving a talk or the person giving a lecture. Now, that's something you find that, and some you see that they're given a lecture and you can see that they're not prepared. They're given a lecture and you can tell, that a person who, yes, you can tell, maybe you understand, that they said if you are a trained eye, understand the topic, you can tell the person is not prepared. So when a person is not prepared, I would say to them, they start to start the topic, then they start to go, they're all over the place. They're telling story of this one, then they come back to this thing, you understand? And also, the thing that's supposed to be the focus of the talk, they're not really discussing the main talk because they're not prepared. And sometimes you can see a person, you can tell you are not prepared. And sometimes and after time, some of the person said, even the person after have the books in front of them, or you have a notebook and you're speaking, but some of the person they said they try to as wing it, they said they try to speak from off their head, but it's not going well. They can tell. So for the person, if you said of the preparation for the maw'idha, the choice of topic, but preparing of oneself. Preparing of oneself. And you see certain people that a lot of their lectures is unprepared for. they may be famous, but you can tell you're not prepared. From you start, you went in a different direction. You understand? So I said the important thing that a person is prepared. Even said for the khutbah, that I've said that not to feel ashamed that a person read, even said prepare something on paper so you can read, so everything flows. You understand? Because sometimes a person trying to go from his head and then everything, you understand? You're not trained and used to that type of method, so information start to go all over the place. You want to talk about taqwa, and then you understand. You talk about the meaning of taqwa at the end of the lecture. When you're supposed to talk about the meaning of taqwa at the start of the lecture. You understand? So everything is scattered. The information becomes scattered. So it's not of the things the person preparing themselves for their talks. And the second thing that they mention, that the person also that regarding concern the delivery, that also concern, I mentioned balagha fil al-mau'idha, that a person also that in giving concerning that try to be as eloquent as possible without going over the top. So a person that try to make sure the information is clear as to what is being given. The person use words that are said to be suitable wordings, polite wordings, not to be each other so much, and if the person make a lecture in a way that anyone who listens can understand to some degree. If it's like a basic talk for the general mass, then it should be something where even they said that the normal Muslim, if he was to hear the talk, he can make sense of it. That you're not using too much, even if you use technical terms, you explain them. But not per se to use a language that means you're using too much, as I say. For example, giving a lecture in England, the person that he's speaking, but he's speaking a broken English. You with me? So I said, and most of the people are unable to understand. But it's people in that you may understand, but not everyone may understand what it's because you use a lot of language words that I said are the words that are somewhat not maybe clear to those of the listeners. So of those things to be mindful of, and also use words that have an impact on the people, words that may have an impact on the person and the listeners. So that's concerning of those things regarding the content, regarding concerning what is being discussed. As I mentioned, what Rasul al-Islam maw'idatun baligha. So the Prophet Islam he was very expressive and clear and eloquent in the way that he gave this admonition. So that's concerning the next point. Just as a side matter regarding this, that we discussed that next or soon. The third point regarding al-maw'idha, ikhtiyar al-waqt wal-fursa munasaba. That also the person that using the time that is suitable. So giving al-maw'idha, that also of the things the person to consider, what time is suitable. So is also take that into consideration, a time that is suitable. So of those things to consider. Then the fourth matter regarding al-maw'idha. So the Prophet in his maw'idha was after Salat al-Fajr, where the people can somewhat after Fajr, most people may have a little time where they can sit and to listen and take on the information. So a time where the people mind that they can be focused. Minds can be focused. Then the third of those matters regarding, or the next matter regarding al-maw'idha, qasr al-maw'idha, that a person want to make it as brief as possible, not to lengthen out the discussion beyond what is needed. So you have al-maw'idha, is more considered a reminder, and you have a dars. So this is a dars, this is the understand. So what we're doing here is a dars. So the information will be a bit different, and the time span may be a little more longer, and the audience may be a bit different from just anyone. So if you find a dars, it will attract some people who are a more special class of people or group of people. By way of a dars will attract concerning those people who are tulabul ilm in most part. So what is expected from them is that they will have everyone who kind of somewhat they will have pens and book trying to somewhat keep up with the dars, and so a dars regarding concerning that the time for that may be a bit longer or shorter depending on the time span. But regarding concern al-maw'idha, they're going to somewhat try to make things short to the point as best as possible. Then the next point regarding al-maw'idha, sifat al-wa'iz. So the next point regarding al-maw'idha, sifat al-wa'id. So the person who is giving the maw'idha, what are the sifat that he should possess? So the one giving this address, the one giving this kalima, these words, what sifat they should possess, or characteristics that they should possess. Of those things regarding concern that a person, that will mention that a maw'idha, that regarding the person that giving this type of address, that a person that he has ilm of the topic he is discussing. So whatever he is discussing, that he has ilm of the topic that he is discussing. So it's a general person, the maw'idha should be a person, a talibul ilm or an alim. So from an alim, talibul ilm, but if the person is not, at least a person that they have knowledge of the topic that they're discussing, or of the information they are passing. Does the wa'id also concern the wa'id? They mention salamat al-qalb, that also the person, the wa'id, that he should have a salamat al-qalb. What's the best way to put it? That he has a pure heart. I don't want to use a pure heart, they're saying. So himself, yes, and not bearing anything. So he's a person that he is genuine. If you want to use that word, he's genuine. So that person comes as genuine regarding as a person that we said a person that he wants khair for the people, but also so it says also him wanting khair for the people. He's not carrying per se animosity against the people or want evil for the person. He genuinely wants good for the people. So it says salamat al-qalb. That and also third of the sifat of that wa'id, that person given that also they mentioned that as for him also is a qudwatul hasana. That also preferable that he is a person, especially concerning the one who come to the masjid to give a wa'id. To give a wa'id, the one who's coming to the masjid and addressing the Muslim. Regarding, they said no, he's said to be one of the Islamists. So the person who is coming regarding to discuss Islamic matters, they must say no, that person should be one who is a qudwatul hasana. He should be a good example. So he should be a Muslim who is upright regarding his deen. So he should be a Muslim who is upright, mustaqim, that is known to be upright on his deen. And of this being a qudwatul hasana, so regarding his deen is upright, not known for foolish behavior and practices that are unbefitting, and also of good character. So he should be one. So he must in a sense of, and also the person given a word and is known that he's a Muslim that everyone knows he doesn't pray. Then that's crazy. Or pray sometimes. He's not a person who's known, you understand, that a person you never see in the salat, but never seen the masjid, but he lives next door to the masjid. But never seen the masjid praying with the people. He prays in his house, but never come out and pray the people in the masjid, in the masajid. Then that person, then he's not a qudwatul hasan, not a good example. So he's not a good example. So also the person is known regarding his akhlaq, as his behavior, that general amongst the people, he's said to be a person of good conduct. Now you can give type of tazkiyah, reference regarding his conduct in general, that the person is of outstanding character. They mentioned regarding concern. So those are the things that is looked upon. We said no, and also would be a fourth thing, another matter we said istiqama ala deen, that the person also is understanding and belief of Islam is upright. That is understanding of Islam. That's we said that his aqidah also is sound. Because that sometimes you have like online that you find a trend, possible trend to be mindful of. They find that some, they always emphasize the Quran, but they really emphasize Hadith. You have certain institutions, certain places, certain individuals who are out there, but all they kind of somewhat revolve around is just the Quran. Nothing about the Sunnah and the Sharia. So everything about, and sometimes that is and when they do speak about Hadith, then it's like, it's questionable what they're saying. They're rejecting things of Hadith. Now, so sometimes you find that, that those things to be mindful of, those who take this route. Nam, aywa. Aim said, he said, a female address females. A female address female. We got a maw'idha. So even after today's, as some of the mashaykh that I've heard giving fatwa regarding concerning that, I said that online YouTube type of, we call it the address. We'll find that female now giving, addressing now going on YouTube and giving their, discussing certain matters, that their audience should be, you understand, should be female. That their audience should be female more mainly. Especially concerning in that type of platform. With that type of platform. Concerning like teaching, educating, that you find that Aisha and others who used to teach men, but said that with certain conditions. With certain conditions. So said that yes, so with condition, them being involved, it will be with conditions. Just as I said, with a man, there are certain conditions. So if the trend now finds not that anyone does go online.
Yeah, she might be covered correctly, but she's still giving a more.
And more than we're talking about things, yes, and so those are the things. So find that So said with those things that online also said what we're discussing to put certain things in perspective. So after those things, so after said that was also put in perspective, as Salam Sheikh even mentioned regarding that it is important. As I listened to someone explain the book again concerning Sheikh Bakr Abu Zaid, they mentioned Hilatu Talabat al-Ilm. The beautification of Talib al-Ilm, which is concerned the guides, etiquette of Talib al-Ilm, that also that person that he speak on things that was said before, speak on things that you have researched on, you understand, not just think you can talk about everything. And you're not qualified to talk about everything. Or you find that on YouTube, you find that with things that are taking place, some people they have to answer, they have to give an answer to everything taking place. Even sometimes you're not asked, but you give the answer. Just to show that you're in tune with what's going on in the world. So everything you give an answer. Then, and most of the time the person, sometimes you find even those, you understand, some of those who may have good intent, but they know, and most people would know concerning that you're not qualified to discuss the thing that you're discussing. You're not qualified. And again, second, you didn't research on the matter. You know this. And the person, and so that's the thing the person has to know. They said, you have to know, what they say today, you have to know your lane of the road. So the person who's in the slow lane, the highway and the motorway, you have 3-4 lanes. If you're in the first lane, just keep to the first lane and stay within it. If you go in the second lane, then you're putting trouble upon yourself and others. You're making trouble for yourself and others because that's not your lane. You're not per se skilled to drive in the second lane. You're only skilled to drive in the first lane. So keep inside there. When a person go over, then he becomes a problem for himself and for others. And we find today a lot. I said that. So I said after things that concern the wa'idh, that he's able to stay within his remit. That he has knowledge that he can, something that he has the ability to discuss those things or research into those things. But of the things that the wa'id, that he stays within his limits. So that's also the matter regarding the wa'id, he stays within his limit. Nam. So the mention regarding concern. So those are the matters regarding al-maw'idha. The matter regarding al-maw'idha al-muwadda. So when the Prophet Islam gave this maw'idha, the people can somewhat assume that is something which is maw'idha al-muwadda, something regarding a farewell address. Now a farewell address. I think as I mentioned that maw'idha al-muwadda, that I mentioned كأنها موعدة مودع, that at some times you might hear some of the masajid that a person, the imam, leading the salat and said sallu salat mawadda. Heard that before?
No, I heard it yesterday.
Okay, Allah musta'an. Okay, I would have said that, but we didn't expect that.
We look at it in English language.
Hey, so sometimes the Imam may say, so the Hadith mentioned, كأنها موعظة مودة. Now, so the person, but you might find that a person might say in the Salat, Sallu Salat Mawadda. That, make this be like your fear was Salat. Now, you have one, but there's no Hadith to the Prophet of Islam that he alayhi said this before any Salat. Now, and one Hadith was like way of advice to one person who asked. So it's more of our advice, and say, but not for the person can somewhat to perceive whenever you're praying as this to be your last Salat. But not something that the Imam need to say to the people. Clear? So it's two different things. Something being said before the Salah to the congregation, or something that that person can somewhat, something that you perceive within yourself, that this could be my last Salah. So two separate things. So as for the Prophet ﷺ, he wouldn't say Sallu Salat Mawadda to the people. So said those are matters regarding al-maw'idah. And I mentioned we are in this maw'idah, the Prophet kind of somewhat highlighted things as they started where at times putting more emphasis on what is discussed due to the circumstance. So with this matter, that as for the people that were there, they're somewhat affected by this, that the people were affected by this. The people were affected where it can start to mention that their hearts, it affected their hearts, and even some start to weep from what they were about from this maw'idah. Then of the content of the maw'idah that the Prophet ﷺ, so again the next matter of al-maw'idah, then the Prophet and the person want to mention what is awsina, that if they asked regarding awsina, so mentioned that difference regarding that they said some mentioned qa'il, that someone asked, so someone amongst those who were present, that they asked the Prophet ﷺ, awsina, can you give us some advice? Can you give? So it showed the permissibility or the mashru'iyat of someone asking a person of ilm to give them some advice. To give them some advice. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he gave certain advice. So based upon a request that he gave certain advice. So of those advice consists of several things. Of those things that he mentioned, alayhi salam, of the first he mentioned, usikum bi what? Bi taqwa. So the first of the advice that was given, that the Prophet alayhi salam, that he advised them regarding taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as we had mentioned in previous from the hadith that we may have discussed certain things regarding at-taqwa. We have maybe discussed things about at-taqwa previously. But in brief concerning at-taqwa, the ulama have kind of somewhat defined at-taqwa, that they have mentioned al-khawf. Someone mentioned at-taqwa, khawf min jalil, is having fear from jalil, or the mighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa amal bil tanzil, and to act according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have revealed, which is the sharia, wa qina'a bi qalil, and a person is satisfied with that which is not much, with little. So a person having satisfaction with not much or little, wa isti'adh bi yawm al-rahil, and for the person to prepare himself, preparation for the day of death, or for the last day, that will move on. So at-taqwa of the ulama were mentioned taqwa, khawf min al-jalil, fear, having fear of the Almighty, wa amal bil tanzil, tanzil, to act according to the sharia, qinaha bi qalil, having being satisfied with not much, wa isti'adad li yawm al-rahil, and for the person to prepare himself for the last day, for meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Others who have mentioned at-taqwa, as mentioned, and ta'amal bi ta'atillah, that for the person to act in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So act in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ala nur min Allah, doing so based upon the light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yarju thawab Allah, seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's reward, so seeking reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa an tada ma'asi, and for a person to leave away, to avoid disobedience, matatillah, disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ala nur min Allah, upon the light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, takhaf iqab Allah, and to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath, and to fear the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment. So that's concerning of those who have mentioned taqwa in that light. So taqwa is a person having imtithal, awamirillah, that a person can want to fulfill, carry out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructions and commands, and to avoid the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made forbidden. In a nutshell. So there's not a taqwa, kalima, sa'adat ad-dunya wal-akhirah. That a person who owes to the words of taqwa, that would be concerning for a person is success in this dunya and in the akhirah. And as for asbab at-taqwa, if the person has ways of achieving of taqwa or gaining of taqwa or to strengthen one taqwa, ittiba sirat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ittiba kitabillah, for a person to follow the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which tinab al-bida wal khurafat, and for the person to avoid things of bida wal khurafat, things of misguidance and things of innovation, ikthar min nawafil ibadat, and also the person that he tries to do as much extra acts of ibadah that is mashru', that are legislated. Ijtinab al-muharramat wa shubahat. Third, for a person to avoid those things that are said to be muharramat, clearly thing which is haram and thing which is adhan. Okay. Tafaddal Sheikh. I thought I'd have gone to the next point. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah wa ba'd. So just continuing or to end this point that we have mentioned, that at-taqwa, asbab at-taqwa, that in continuing that we mentioned ijtinab al-muharramat wa shubahat. Also of those ways of achieving at-taqwa, takhalluq bi sifat al-muttaqeen, that for a person to try to adorn himself with upright characteristics and behavior, wa ya'amil an-nas bil-husna, and to deal with the people in the best way possible. So in dealing with the people in the best way possible, suhbatul salih, that a person try to have good companions, positive good companions, upright companions, min ahli salah wal istiqama, so having upright companions, tafakkur fi ayatillah ash-shar'iyya wa kawniyya, for a person to ponder over the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's the ayat, the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for one to ponder over the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those things are Shari'ah, which is the Quran, and also Kawniyah, and things in creation. So pondering over the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether by way of the text, the Quran, reading the Quran, pondering over the Quran, or by way of what is around us, of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also can add concerning ikthar min istighfar wa tawbah. So also regarding al-asbab at-taqwa, ikthar min istighfar, the person that he does a lot of istighfar, wa at-tawbah wa dhikr. So those things that can help the person regarding at-taqwa, in increasing of his taqwa. But we said we have covered some of those things previously. Then the next point we'll discuss, but due to time, we'll leave it until next week inshallah. But the next topic that we had hoped to cover were intended to cover regarding, where he mentioned in the next point, he mentioned in the Hadith that of the first point, Taqwa Allah, usikum bi taqwa Allah, was-sam'a wa taha, wa in ta'ammar alaykum abd. I mentioned abd, some mentioned Mr. Abd Abashi, but in this narration I mentioned just abd. So after the next thing that the Prophet ﷺ kind of said that he encouraged and command upon the Muslim, or advise the Muslim, it pertains concerning your relationship with those in authority. Your relationship with those and your dealings with those in authority, meaning those who are the head of the state. So those in authority, I mind to say wali al-amr or wilaya, those who are in authority of the state, then how to want to relate with those and what are the, so we're going to somewhat, inshallah ta'ala, when we discuss this topic next week, we'll discuss, we'll put it into 4 levels or 4 things. One, regarding concern, they mention shurut al-wali, or might depend on the order, not this or this. So this concerning shurut al-wali. What's the condition for the wali al-amr? So the person, the head of state, what's required from them? So what are the standard requirement from those in authority? So are there condition that the person, the head of state, I was saying the Muslim head of state should fulfill? What are some of those conditions that are mentioned by the ulama based upon text? Second, of the thing concerning kayfiyat ikhtiyar al-rais or al-hakim al-Islam, that how to choose a head of state. What's the process in selecting an head of state? I mentioned tansib al-imam, so how to select an head of state. Islam, they mention the third, huquq al-wali al-amr, the third thing to be discussed. What are the rights of the wali al-amr, the concern the head of state? What are the rights that we should give to him? So concerning the citizens, what are the rights that they should fulfill towards the wali al-amr? So his rights that he has over us. Then I mentioned the next 4th will be what? So of the thing that's not, what is expected from him towards, not towards the people. You understand? So kind of somewhat to make it balance. So kind of somewhat covered in those 4 areas. Shurut al-wali al-amr, how the process of selecting, what are the means that we can use? Can we use election? So Islamically, what have been mentioned as the ways to select a leader. Third, what is the rights of the leader, and also what rights we the people have over him. So those are things to be covered bi-idhnillahi ta'ala in the next lesson or next session. So we'll discuss that. We'll bring these books like Ibn Kathir. I should let you know that's the matter. Like Ibn Kathir and Al-Qurtubi discuss some of those points. Even though again you have books of Siyat al-Sharia that will discuss also these things in more detail. So you have some of the ulama have written books of Siyat al-Sharia or books of Imam that will discuss these things in more detail. But we're discussing about a general idea of what are some of the things that we should factor in regarding wali al-amr. What are the do's and the don'ts? So, especially in a time we find these matters discussed a lot, and you have those who go to the right and those who go to the left. You understand? Regarding how to navigate regarding matters Shari'ah, regarding wali al-amr, regarding wali al-amr. So inshallah ta'ala we'll end for today, and we'll set out these things, so we'll cover them next week bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Wa billahi ta'ala tawfiq wa hadhihi as-sabil. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.